This episode contains mature language and situations. Listener discretion is advised. Part 3. The Humming.
I hate it down here! Eric cries. I know. It's not for much longer though, Eric. You trust me, yes? I don't trust anyone anymore, even myself. John sighs, running a palm over the remaining patch of hair. It's going to work out, Eric. I just can't bring you up here yet. Not with these snakes. Why me? It's your destiny, kiddo. Too many seeds of misery have been sown, but we'll reap the harvest, I promise. And it'll be fit for kings. It's so cold in the dark. I know I wish to be away from summer, but please put me back. I'll do better, I promise. I'll be a better kid. Eric, you know I can't put you back. I'm so lonely. I'll get you a friend, okay? The boy begins to cry, alternating between quiet whimpers of grief and explosive bouts of anger. I don't like it here. I don't like it here. John feels for him. All the confusion, pain, and possibly surprise at how much the kid misses his mom, even after her consistent demonstrations of coldness. I want to go home! When he himself was writhing on the floor, clothes and hair alight, he saw his mom walking through the flames towards him, holding Olivia's hand. Years had passed since she died of cancer, and more since they had last spoken. Yet there she was, just as he remembered, and immediately all was forgiven. But none of it was real, and melancholy inspires tainted memories. This isn't punishment, Eric. This is your reward. And although it doesn't seem like it right now, everything you've endured will be worth it. Please don't leave me down here. Eric, I need you. Your pain and anger help to extend my reach, my signal. I'm on their TVs, radios, in their heads, and the tips of their tongues. I'm everywhere, and it's working. The town is dying. Hold on for a little longer. John grabs the shaving mirror and slowly begins to spin it around. Please don't! There's too much work to be done, and he's on borrowed time. He feels for the kid, but sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. He shivers at that thought. Something an abusive father or stand-in might say before handing out a beating.
What's going on, John?
Shit. James, hi. He spins around in his chair, thinking it might be over before it started. How long have you been there? James remains silent, eyeing the unopened file on the corner of the desk and the shaving mirror tilted towards the ceiling. Shifting awkwardly in his seat, John follows James's eyes to the mirror to make sure he can't see the boy. You shouldn't sneak up on people like that. You could give him a heart attack.
You can't die twice. What the hell are you up to, John?
Nothing, just the project, you know.
I heard you. You were talking to someone. Eric?
Nope. Singing. Just rattling out some tunes from my crusty windpipe. James maintains his stare.
Don't lie to me, John. My wife used to lie.
I'm not. Honest. It just gets so boring around here. Don't you miss music? An awkward standoff ensues. Neither of them prepared to back down until the silence becomes unbearable. I really have a lot of work to do. It won't be long before they find a replacement for Terry, and I don't feel like being a human marshmallow again.
That's what I came to tell you. I think they have. All unofficial right now, but rumor has it that her name is Patricia. Real ball breaker, apparently. Everything by the book.
The last few words come out like a drawl to John. James lost him mid-sentence. His dead heart thumps against his chest as though someone is making one last desperate attempt with a defibrillator. He thought he would have more time. Lots more. If it weren't for the burns covering most of his skin, James would surely see the blood rushing to his colleague's face. When?
I'm not sure. As I said, it's unofficial. But things tend to happen quite quickly around here, as you know. You alright, buddy?
Far from it, buddy. Yeah, best get back to it, though, before... Patricia, was it?
Yeah.
James makes to walk away, but snaps his head back towards him.
You can trust me. You know, John.
Of course. John watches him pass out of sight behind the cubicle before cracking his barely covered fingers and swinging the mirror to the other side. Business as usual. And just like that, he's taken to the makeshift classroom, frenzied dust particles dancing in rays of evening sunshine. Her name is Rebecca, and there's a strength to her that reminds him of Olivia. It's a sign, something he can't possibly ignore, even though there will inevitably be painful comparisons at times. He can see Rebecca and Olivia sitting on the tallest tree's highest branch, laughing and putting the world to rights. He deserves this. After everything he's been through, surely he's allowed to work things to his advantage a little. Through the cobweb-covered window, Rebecca can see the sweat glistening on her father's back and the dark patches decorating his grimy vest. Tied around his waist is the checkered shirt she bought him last Christmas. She can still remember his face when he opened it, split in two by the biggest smile and eyes wide and moist. A different man. A different time. The axe is brought down with such ferocity that it makes her wince each time it connects with the wood. He's out there every day recently, taking his paranoia out on dead trees. When he's not chopping wood, he's sitting in front of the fire, nursing his whiskey, mumbling things under his breath. She knows her mother prefers him in a comatose state, keeping his glass full and eyes shut. She shifts restlessly in her seat, textbook open but nothing going in, as though the language is meant for another world, one not ruled by dread. They've always been God-fearing folk, but this town has them even more scared. The only time they leave the house these days is for church, and even then, from the back seat of the car, Rebecca notices things aren't right. People keeping their distance on the streets, casting nervous glances every few yards, faces taut and lips moving as though mid-chant. She even saw two older women last week rolling around on the ground, teeth and fists clenched, spitting words she'd never heard before. Last week, someone put a stone through their living room window just for the hell of it. It seems bad things are happening everywhere, evil spreading through their town. Rebecca lets out a cough to try and get her mother's attention. Father says they might be putting something in the water, so he insists on boiling it all now. She doesn't know who they are, but she's sure there's no truth in it. He took their phones away last week, mumbling something about radiation and them getting into their heads. Last night, before another silent dinner, he even put his axe through the television screen. It wasn't even switched on. There's something, though. She can feel it, in the air, everywhere. And the light breeze that blows through the open windows. She can smell it, too. Like washing that has dried too quickly indoors. After that dreadful business of the young boy from her class, Father doesn't like her mixing with other kids, so Mother's been homeschooling her. It looks like class is canceled again today, though.
Mother?
Wrapped in a blanket and staring at the wall of the makeshift classroom, Mother sits in a chair, rocking gently back and forth, humming that tune again, occasionally breaking off and sniffling or letting out a garbled wail. Enforced isolation is taking its toll, but Father will not have it any other way. According to him, sin is everywhere. She's sure Mother would be long gone by now if it wasn't for the bump in her belly.
Mother.
The humming and rocking continue without a flicker of acknowledgement, broken only by the muted cry and sniffling. With a deep breath, Rebecca stands and begins to edge forward. She couldn't get anything out of her yesterday. Dead eyes fixed ahead, hands stroking the bump.
Mother?
Another tentative step forward, and this time She swears she hears Mother mumble something under her breath.
What was that, Mother?
Just more inaudible muttering. More cautious steps. But she stops midway on the third as Mother's head snaps around.
Leave me alone, you needy little cunt!
Rebecca recoils, blood rushing from her head. The vein in the middle of Mother's forehead looks like it might pop, and her eyes are slitted in a way that fills Rebecca with terror. Frothy saliva drips from her mouth, reminding Rebecca of Mr. Brunner's guard dog from the car lot down the road. There's no love or compassion there, only hate. The humming commences as Mother turns to face the wall again. Rebecca turns to leave, but the surrounding walls bellow out a loud moan that stops her in her tracks. It's nothing new of late, as though the house's very foundations are suffering with them, but it still makes the hairs bristle on the back of her neck. The groan continues for an unnaturally long time, twisting the ever-present knot in the pit of her stomach until finally it ceases. They're getting more frequent, though. More pained. Something bad is going to happen soon. She can feel it. As she makes her way back to her room, the front door opens, and she pauses at the bottom of the staircase. Father takes off his hat and looks towards her. She smiles and waits hopefully for a reaction, but he quickly shifts his glance away, snatching the half-empty whiskey bottle from the kitchen cabinet, unscrewing the top and taking a generous gulp. He brings the bottle through to the living room, passing her as though she doesn't exist. Familiar pressure builds behind her eyes as she trudges up the stairs. But she's taught herself how not to cry, chewing on the inside of her lip for distraction. How much can they endure? Today is her birthday. On the desk next to her bed are half a dozen cards from the previous one. She bites down harder on the inside of her lip.
Happy birthday to me.
Not so long ago, the house was full of love and laughter, but those days seem like an eternity ago. Father has become even more distrustful of people since recent events, and they're even more insulated now. He doesn't trust anyone, not even Mother. Only recently, Rebecca heard him slurring accusations at her mom about her sleeping around. "It's not mine, is it, you whore? Admit it!" Another ominous groan begins to bleed from the house into her bones, forcing an involuntary shudder. No rattle of windows, and there's not a single leaf moving on the trees outside her cobweb-covered window. As before, the moan grates up her spine into her head, but with greater intensity.
Happy birthday to me!
She claps her hands over her ears and bites down harder, but it's still there, trapped, rattling around and building towards a crescendo that is filling her with emptiness. It's everywhere, deep, discordant, inescapable. Shoving her hand under her pillow, the bitter taste of blood at the back of her throat, she brings out the small transistor radio and turns it on as loud as she dares, knowing Father would confiscate or even destroy it if he knew she had the thing. What sounds like country music begins to crackle through the small speaker, but it's better than nothing. Screwing her eyes shut, she imagines the living room full of balloons, children dancing, and her mom bringing in a unicorn cake, topped with candles and fizzing sparklers. Seemingly competing against the music, the groan gets impossibly loud, to the point of making her feel like her ears may bleed. She's losing the battle, can feel the scene slipping away. The faint sound of screams can be heard over the deep moan as Father rushes into the room with his axe, swinging at the balloons. But instead, embedding the blade in the skulls of dancing children. One by one, they all fall down, bringing a bloody red curtain down on the party. Once again, nothing but the overwhelming, ear-splitting groan. She fumbles at the radio, turning it up by notches, desperate for some reprieve. Finally, the tune begins to filter through again, faint, but getting steadily louder until the dial no longer turns. Tapping her feet profusely against the rug below, She's well out of time with the music. That's okay. She's losing herself in the rainy streets and neon lights of whatever town the woman is singing about. She's finally winning, defeating the ominous groan attempting to set up home in her head. The pressure is easing. She stops chewing her lip. Her body is losing rigidity, her legs beginning to slow, swaying in tune to the dampened but audible chords instead of the tempo of fear. And just like that, it's gone. She's free of it. Suddenly realizing how loud the music is, she snatches at the radio and turns it low, terrified she'll hear her father's thumping feet up the stairs. For now, she's lucky, but she knows the storm continues to build. When the baby is out, she hopes things will be different. Hope is all she has. There wasn't a murmur from either of her parents last night, but she still didn't sleep well. The house was restlessly noisy, an endless orchestra of groans and creaks of various lengths and volumes. The nightmares are getting worse too, and when she woke up just after 3 this morning, dripping in sweat, Mother was standing at the end of her bed holding her belly and humming that stupid tune. The way the moon only lit one side of her face made Rebecca's stomach feel funny. Mother turned and left without saying a word. So many times of late, she's wished them both dead. She hates herself for thinking it, but they become nothing but mean strangers, and they scare her. Sitting on the edge of her dirty sheets, Rebecca runs her finger across one of the cards and opens it up to last year's declarations of love and pride from Mom and Dad. The crackling guitar begins to fade out, and an over-enthusiastic DJ intrusively begins to rattle on about nothing in particular. As his words start to grate, she considers switching it off, but a contrasting sternness replaces the cheesiness as a woman begins to read the news.
Listener discretion is advised. Sergeant Taylor has said they're still no closer to understanding why teenager Eric Weymouth stabbed his mother to death and subsequently went on to murder Brian Cummins and 4 other children from the neighborhood before taking his own life. Police continue to question the community for further information. The only thing coming to light is a previous relationship between Eric's mother, Tracy Weymouth, and Brian, but nothing to substantiate such extreme violence. The ripples from such recent events have spread terror across the community, so much so that people are beginning to stockpile, afraid of walking the streets of their own town. Suffering an injury to her arm when trying to assist, and preferring to stay unnamed, one witness to the murder of 12-year-old Evie Barlow, one of the 4 dead children, said, "The boy was frenzied. He kept repeating the phrase, 'You all had it coming,' as he repeatedly brought the knife down." The town is still reeling from the recent murder-suicide. Again, motivation unknown. Carried out by Alex Frampton on his wife, Felice, and 4-year-old daughter, Lily. We'll have more on these stories later, including interviews with the residents of these neighborhoods. There's something going on, something not right with folk around here, one such resident.
She places the radio back under the pillow, not wanting to hear more. Something not right with folk. Even the smell of the wood on the fire smells wrong today. Usually the scent is sweet and heavy, bringing comfort and normality to things, but there's a deep, noxious smell filling her room today that induces more of that claustrophobic dread.
Mother?
Through thick grime, Rebecca observes her walking through the large yard towards the barn, pausing to smell one of the yellow roses before continuing down the gravel path. There's an undeniable flicker of relief to see her out of that chair and getting some fresh air. It looks as though she's laughing even. And her belly. It's flatter. She hated it when it was in there, especially towards the end, but now she's beginning to feel hope. Mother is up and about. She has a little brother or sister, and they have the same birthday. Father's probably in the kitchen right now, holding the baby in his arms, letting go of all the bad stuff and focusing on the new bundle of life. She feels giddy, shedding her own dread and even allowing herself a smile. Tears finally come, raw and explosive. Maybe things can get better. Maybe they can move away, start afresh, get out. She watches Mother reach for the axe leaning against the woodpile. Her chest tightens. With a twist of her body, revealing a huge dark stain across the front of her dress, Mother's squinting eyes find her bedroom window. And is that a smile? Trailing the axe behind her, Mother begins a slow walk back to the house, eyes remaining fixed on Rebecca's bedroom window.
Dad!
She rushes towards the stairs, heart drumming in her ear, and that feeling of a storm coming stronger than ever. Not a sound, though. She grabs the handrail, swinging herself around and down the first couple of steps, but her mind is moving quicker than her legs, and she's gone, momentum sending her stumbling down the last few stairs into an explosion of pain and white light. The back of her head is on fire as she lifts it from the ground to see Father's legs and lower chest protruding from the fireplace.
Dad!
Flames lick hungrily at flesh, the resulting smell and sizzling sound forcing Rebecca to dry retch over her shoulder. She forces herself up, eyeing the tumbler on its side near the couch leg, and wincing at the violent throbbing in her head. As she straightens, searing pain runs down her right side.
Dad!
The crunch of gravel and Mother's faint mumblings float through the slightly open window, and as if feeding once more on her fear, the house begins its moan. From Father's left side, she makes out the inch of gray, flames dancing around the kitchen knife's shiny black handle, the one they use for Sunday roasts. She knows it's far too late, but can't bear the thought of leaving him there. Disoriented, trembling, and in excruciating agony, she grabs hold of his legs, grits her teeth, and begins to heave, working him slowly away from the flames. Tears roll down both cheeks as memories are conjured of laughter and pranks before evil came to town, when he was always just Dad. With another huge moan, she pulls with everything she has, the hem of her favorite flannel shirt riding up his glistening body. But it's the patches of fabric that have already fused with his skin, forming a grotesque checkered pattern that makes her turn and retch again. Another heave brings him out to the neck, and she eyes the wound that runs across it, one so deep she can see the bone underneath. She counts to 3, trying not to gag, and with one final effort that delivers a bolt of surging pain as she sprawls across the couch, he's out, his face a grotesque and bubbling mess of horror. Unrecognizable. Unforgettable.
Rebecca, dear.
It's the first time she has heard her own name for weeks. She holds her breath, heart pounding, unable to move. The humming begins. The walls around her continue their ever-worsening creak. The storm is here. Bending over, she shuts her eyes and pulls at the handle of the knife. It's unbearably hot, but she perseveres, biting down hard on her lip in familiar technique. It doesn't come out as easily as she thought, and the squelches of resistance induce lightheadedness. But just as the back door opens, she slides it free and turns towards the kitchen. Behind her, she hears the axe dragging along the wooden floor. The groan surrounds her, drowning her in its misery as she limps under the archway. No. Adjacent to the table, in the yellowing high chair, the baby sits, head lolloped to one side, food smeared across the deep purple lips and speckled across the gray chest. It's a girl. The kitchen begins to spin.
I don't know what's wrong with her. She won't eat.
Rebecca tries to move, but her legs fail her. Her breathing is quick, but there's not enough oxygen going in. The groan of the house is worse than ever, riding up and down her spine and exploding in her head with ever-increasing ferocity.
Been like that since she came out.
Rebecca eyes the front door, but it seems so far away as though she's looking down the wrong end of a telescope.
You and him did this. I know it. The voice said so. Couldn't abide the thought of me being happy, could you? Mom, no!
There's a vacancy in Mother's eyes that lets Rebecca know she would be wasting the little breath she has. Her body feels so heavy, as does her mind, the guttural moaning falling across it like a heavy steel blanket. She slumps into a chair, defeated, waving the knife weakly in front of her.
I knew it. Conspiring. Up to no good. Always as thick as thieves, you two.
Stopping only a couple of feet away, she leans in towards Rebecca.
The voice said if I kill you both, I can have Iris back.
Someone steps out from behind Mother, skin all messed up like from a horror film, but with the most human smile that she's seen for a while. "Don't be afraid," he says. Warm eyes project an understanding, empathy for the pain she's endured.
Do you like the name?
Mother lifts the axe above her head.
You were nearly called Iris, but he always got his way. Not anymore.
Rebecca opens her eyes, prepared for pain, prepared for Mother, but only finds darkness. And she remembers the man with the scaly skin. Planting her hands down against the damp, moss-covered earth, she slowly pushes herself up, breathing in some of the coolness.
Hello?
Silence.
Hello?
"Hi!" A chirpy voice comes from the right, startling her. "He said he would give me a friend, but I wasn't sure I could trust him."
Who are you?
"I'm Eric. I'm really pleased to meet you." "We're dead." She swallows hard, studying the boy that emerged from nowhere. "It can all seem a bit strange at first," he says. "Scary, but we're safe here. Even my stammer has gone. Well, almost."
Where? Where are we?
She hears her voice, but doesn't recall forming the words. "Good question. I'm not sure, to be honest. But we shouldn't worry. He has a plan." She bites her lip.
Who?
"Father." It's all too much. Her legs buckle, and more tears escape.
Father?
Placing both hands gently on her shoulders, Eric steps in closer. "It's okay," he says, offering her a toothy and awkward smile, as though he's only just learned how to do it. "Just think of it as being reborn, a second chance to make them notice." He brings her in close and whispers, "John is our father now. We're family."
Descent into Hell, Part 3, The Humming. Written by Mark Towse, with performances by Graham Rowat, Sarah Ruth Thomas, and me, Jason Wilson. Musical composition was by J.M. Scherf. Episode artwork, web development, and creative direction by Cassie Pertite. Social media and Patreon management is by Brooks Bigley. Videography by Hale Scherf. And audio engineering and sound design was by me, Jason Wilson. Once again, we can't stress how much we love you, patrons. We do hope you're enjoying this mini-series, as this is going to become a normal thing. We would always like to take the time to thank you. And we would also like to take the time to thank those of you who left us 5-star ratings and reviews. You know, those reviews keep us on the top of the charts and makes it easier for more twisted souls to find the show, which allows us to reach our goals. Thank you for that. The Grey Rooms is also streaming for free on Spotify. Just get the Spotify app or open the browser and search The Grey Rooms. And you know we here at The Grey Rooms love our fans, and we want to give back to you in the best way we know how. We have a lot of fun things to show you, and I hope that you like them. You can find out more by joining us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook. And we took your advice and extended an olive branch to all of the tortured souls who have passed through the rooms. Our emotional support group is always looking to help you with all of your needs. And don't forget about our merch store. It's full of epic designs and logos for you to sport, showing the world you are a survivor of these very rooms. All of this can be found in the show notes or on our website at thegrayrooms.com. And again, join our Discord right now, today. You're missing out. It's growing daily, and guess what? Each new person who joins our Discord is treated like you've been a family member for 20 years. You're invited to all of our events, and you're always welcome to come in, hang out, crack jokes, and just ask questions. We're all there for you. If that sounds like something you'd like to be involved in, look in the show notes and join today. There it is, episode 3 of the 5-part series. We're going to go ahead and get ready to shuffle out number 4 for you tomorrow. So till then, we'll see you later. Bye.